What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
I enjoyed watching the Saints game. Ugly game at first, but then the Saints picked it up, and Chris Olave catch kind of unlocked a couple of things, and Tony Jones Jr. stepped up when he had to, and we talked about it yesterday. You had one back really up in Jamal Williams.
And he got hurt.
And so Tony Jones Jr. had to come in. He played really well.
Look, is there a ton of work to do on this Saints team? Absolutely. The offense still not nearly consistent enough. The offensive line needs major work. They are desperately missing Alvin Kamara, like Jake just talked about. But, again, and this is a sign of a team with massive potential, despite all of that, despite everything I just said, here you sit, you're 2-0 for the first time since 2013. Really think about that, guys. Where were you in 2013? And recognize that's the last time the Saints were 2-0.
I was still playing in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. Y'all were probably in like junior high or something.
I was a freshman in college at old BRCC.
There you go. Go back.
I was playing my senior year of football in high school.
There you go. Exactly. So it's been a hot minute. Okay. Didn't even have a single kid at the time. It happens. How many did you have at the time?
3.
There you go. Now you got 5. Nearly doubled up. But it happens on a night where you give up 20 points or less for the 10th game in a row, breaking a record set by the Dome Patrol back in 1991. And that's something that I think really bears highlighting here because, again, we live in such an offensive age of football that when the offense isn't good, it can kind of discolor the whole, right? And I agree, the offense has to get a ton of work, and we'll get to that, although there are some things to like. But ultimately, don't let offensive struggles distract you from the legendary defense that you're witnessing. And legendary is not exaggeration when you break a record from 1991 with a group that had multiple Hall of Famers in it. Like, what are we talking about? This team defensively is awesome right now. And obviously, Bryce Young, and we'll get into the quarterbacks you're going to play this year, but you should continue to be awesome. So the bottom line is good teams find a way to win. And it's especially important given the fact that you got to keep pace right now in this NFC South. And I don't care if you believe in the Saints, Bucks, or the Falcons. I mean, we learned last year, we probably didn't believe in those. They finished 7-10, right? You finished tied with the Falcons and the Panthers last year at 7-10. You probably didn't believe in them to the extent you believe in the Saints. So I don't care what you believe. The point is, if everybody's starting 2-0, you got to start 2-0. Okay? Because you got to keep pace. Any game you fall behind, it's that much harder to get back over later in the year. And as we learned last night, nothing comes easy in this league. Nothing comes easy in your division. Second game in a row here, Jake, where for the majority of the game, I hate the offensive play, but most importantly, game on the line, they continue to make the game winning plays. And that is something to build upon. Like, I would rather figure it out on a play-by-play basis than have to figure out, okay, how do we win at the end because we keep choking it away.
Yeah, they have playmakers, and you just got to get the playmakers an opportunity. And the offensive line struggled again. I think that's fair to say. And so, like, that's a unit that you've got to have go up a little bit. But you've always known that you have playmakers. You just got to find a way to give time to your quarterback to be able to play the kind of football that you want to play, which is pushing the ball down the field, getting the ball to Olave, Shaheed, and Michael Thomas had a big night last night. Really, the only guy that didn't have a big night was Juwan Johnson. But, like, I feel like that is going to come here in the next couple of weeks. So the only issue really with the offensive line, because again, and Tony Jones Jr. came in there and ran the football really tough. I thought he had a pretty good day. The offensive line's struggling in both phases, pass protection and some of the run. Now, the run block did get better towards the end of the game, which is always an encouraging sign. But
Taysom started to hit at the end for sure. We'll talk about Taysom.
He did. I don't know right now what you're going to do, though. Like, Trevor Penning struggled, I thought, last night in pass protection. I thought Cesar Ruiz struggled last night. McCoy was better. Ramczyk, to his standard, didn't play well, and James Hurst didn't play well. So I don't know what the disconnect is, because that is a unit that you've put a ton of resources into. Actually, we've seen some of these guys, most of these guys, play good at times. So you know it's there. So I don't know what the disconnect is right now to their play to what their talent is.
There seems
That's two good defensive lines they've gone against as well. But.
Yeah, and maybe the disappointing part to me last night were some more like MAs, even just like kind of getting confused by the rush a bit. But I don't know. I mean, I think I saw improvement out of Penning last night. Like it may not still be great, but it was way better in the first game, right? And with somebody that young, that's all I'm going to look for. And in terms of Ramczyk, like I'll always trust Ramczyk to figure out. I am a bit more confused by the interior. By Caesar and McCoy struggling when, for the most part, they've been Caesar's always been on like an upward trajectory, and McCoy's always been pretty solid since he entered the league. So, again, yes, the offensive line has to get better. The offense as a whole has to get better. But, again, when it mattered most, right, for the second game in a row, 5 minutes left, you need a big play, Rashid Shaheed double move, work to perfection, beautiful delivery by Derek Carr, the timing of everything. But how does he have time to do that? Okay, the offensive line gave him time, gave him a nice pocket to be able to pull. Like, you can't pull off a double move in that play unless you can kind of sit back there for a little minute. So, again, does this offense have to figure it out on a play-by-play basis? Yes. But and again, it's also the biggest difference from last year's offense, where this team is making the plays to win games and to close out games at the end, something that they were completely awful at last season. Because, it's like, okay, remember when Will Wade was the LSU basketball coach? And he used to always talk about the 6-minute game. Mm-hmm. It was like 80% of games come down in the last 6 minutes. Okay, so they're in like within one possession going in the last 6 minutes. So it's like, really, you got to focus on winning those 6. That's kind of like how the NFL is. And right now, the Saints got work to do outside of, but in that 6, they've been pretty damn strong. Like, I would love to see what the stats are for the Saints offensively these final, 6 minutes of these first 2 games compared to what it is for the first 75% of the game. So I come away, and I'm feeling pretty good. And look at the wide receivers, man. You mentioned it. Olave leads in yards. Mike Thomas leads in catches. Rashid Shaheed leads in yards per catch. They all had big moments to set up scores. Thomas had the third down catch on the sideline where his butt stays in bounds, ends up setting up a field goal. Olave had the third down bomb to set up a touchdown that kind of felt like, okay, this game's over when it was just 13-6. Shaheed had the bomb to set up the real game-sealing touchdown at the end of the game. So you're seeing contributions. You're seeing the value of explosive plays, where even if your offense that is struggling, these big plays can kind of change everything for you. And it's coming from the group that you thought you were going to rely on entering the season. And I find that to be very encouraging.
Yeah, the only thing I agree with everything you said about the way they're playing at the end of the game. You just don't want to get into a game where you get so far behind that 6 minutes at the end of the game doesn't matter. But there has been something that changes within the offense, and I don't know what that is, but they've got to get that consistently because, again, like you just went through the playmakers. Like we know that's what they have, and this defense is always going to give you an opportunity, so I don't even know that you'll be in that situation that I'm talking about, but it's just some of these sacks. I think they gave up 4 last night. I think they gave up 6 tackles for loss. Like,
yep.
That's the one issue that you have right now with this team. Now, being able to run the football, like Tony Jones Jr. ran hard. He did. He ran hard. Those 2 touchdown runs were nice, but, he still averaged 2.8 yards per carry. Like, there wasn't a ton of space out there. I know you mentioned Taysom, like he had 9 for 75. That gives you something different.
Yeah, he was RB1 by the end. He had it had started. The extra blocker ended up being key, and I was kind of wrong about the Taysom packages. I thought it was going to only be short yardage. Very effective on 1st and 10 in this game.
Closed the game out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And everybody in the stadium knew what it was. But to your point, you get an extra blocker when you have quarterback run, and maybe that's what you need right now because he did end up having a pretty big day. So. Yeah, you're always going to be excited about being 2-0. You're going to be excited about the defense, the playmakers as well on the outside. Like when you called their number, they've made the play 2 weeks in a row. Derek Carr, for having pressure in his face all night, did not play terrible. Don't think so at all. So, I know a lot of people on Twitter thought that he played very, very bad in the first half, but, there's a lot of pressure.
And again, maybe, sure, he did play. You could say he played bad. I'm not going to argue on that. What I'm saying is, what we said about Derek Carr coming in is in his career, he has been really solid in the fourth, right? Like he led the league in fourth quarter comebacks or game winning drive or something like that, since he'd entered. And you're seeing that fourth quarter performance. In fact, his brother tweeted last night. He tweeted something about like, oh, how about that fourth quarter with like a kind of a side eye emoji. But and I trust a veteran quarterback like Derek Carr to get better in the play. Look, you see him talk after the game, Jake. You would have thought they lost. Mm-hmm. Like Derek Carr is nobody is more disappointed in the offensive level of play right now than Derek Carr is. I think they're going to get this thing right. I think Alvin Kamara is going to represent just exactly what this offense needs in a lot of ways. Maybe I'm wrong there. But we will see when Kamara gets back. But again, you can't underestimate the momentum to be gained when you don't play well and you look up and you're still 2-0. It's just it's a feeling that can build confidence, belief. I mean, Jake, you can speak to that better than I can. It just feels like everybody's going to be in a better mood coming into work. Everybody's going to be more confident. Everybody's, yes, some of the film is bad, but guess what? If we get better, how good can we be? Like, this is when you start to think, okay, wait, we can actually challenge to be one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, you don't care about spreads, although they pushed last night. Like, you don't care about how it looked. You don't care about, soft coverage. You don't care about any of that. Like, you just care about getting a victory. And you're right. Like, there's going to be a lot off this tape that they can go out there offensively. Like, defense, I mean, outside that last drive where they were basically giving them whatever they wanted just to bleed out the clock. Yeah. I mean, you were dominant. And so offensively, again, there's things that you have to get corrected, but you're 2-0 in the NFL.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.